let's get it popping then. Monica McNutt. Listen, I don't even know how to describe you. I like that you said sports talker, hoop head. So I'm going to go with that because I think that you're one of those people that it's like, I remember when you're going to be like lit. You're already lit, but I just feel like it's going to be really wild. Yeah. Let's go back to the what draft was it? Let's go back to what draft did we randomly, when we were both getting started, what was it? The 2019 draft?
Something like that. Yeah.
So on the 2019 draft, Monica and I first got linked up. It was through at this Anscape now, but at that time it was called.
Yes.
It was what's the name of?
The Undefeated.
Yeah. So that's when we first got linked up. And I remember telling Serena, I'm like, yo, that was lit. We had no preparation. And
Zero.
We had zero prep. It was fun. And it just turned out being lit. And then Monica and I started to be paired up, linked up just randomly ever since then. Now, as if you don't know, you should know, folks, that Monica is everywhere you see on TV. She's calling the WNBA, and I say this in a good way. We want you calling all the WNBA stuff, all the women's stuff, because you give flavor that's fresh and new. But also, not only that, calling things on the NBA side, just all over. And so I'm just curious, in 2019, when we were sitting there calling the WNBA draft, like, what did you think was like the big at that time compared to now? Because it's not that far ago if you think about it.
Child, working with you on the Undefeated Instagram page, like, this is Renee Montgomery. Like, woo! But you know what, Renee? Honestly, that was the pandemic draft. Like, there was so much uncertainty around everything, let alone your professional.
Also, that was 2020. That was
it was 2020.
Okay, so 2020. Get us some fact checking. Thank you.
It like y'all know, it was like, okay, we're just gonna take it literally day by day. And so I think for me, doing television in my basement was just the wildest place to kind of hit the scene. Okay, thank you, God, if you say so.
Pull up on her.
She said, thank you.
No, so it's interesting, though. So, okay, so you pulled up on the scene. We were with Anscape. I'm just going to call him Anscape now. And now in 2022, fast forward to look at where the women's game is and everything going on. Now, you call the women's game, and I'm going to ask you a question that people ask me, and I never have an answer to. So I'm just curious what your answer is to when they say it. Like, what is it going to take? Because we see the numbers now. You know, we gotten the stats together. We see the numbers are going up. We see the demand is there. We know that the players, they're all the way embracing just being fully authentically them. What is it going to take for the buy-in when it comes to the big money from the sponsors? You're in the TV industry. Like, why aren't there more pre-games and post-games? Like, what is it going to take to get to that level, basically?
I think in the conversation of buy-in, we are probably at about 65%. And a lot of that is because of the pressure of the climate, if we're honest. And so I think there's still more buy-in to be had. Well, women's sports are hot right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't have a representation in the women's landscape, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I think right now it's
And you think that's all the way around. Like, you think women's sports is hot. Like, you think that Fortune 500 companies will be saying that and being like, we got to throw the bag at these women athletes. Like, they're hot right now. Like, do you think people are really, like, feeling that?
I do think that. I think I'm in New York, y'all. Sorry if y'all hear that siren.
I know. I was like, you sound like you in New York.
I was trying to mute my mic real quick. It didn't work. So listen, I do think right now, and I think this is progress. I don't want to negate the progress that we've made, but I do think it's easy right now. It is. Okay, WNBA players on the cover of Sports Illustrated having conversations about women being empowered and celebrating their bodies in a different way from Sports Illustrateds of the past. It is big corporations partnering with athlete of your choice, insert here. It is having women on your broadcast, cool. But like, Becky Hammon still didn't really get a legitimate look as an NBA head coach, right? And like, Natasha Cloud tweets out the other day about how the W players are still traveling commercial and we're still living in part of a pandemic. She winds up in health and safety protocols, right? We still have a tremendous drop off for youth girls in sports after the age of 13. And so all of the progress that we've made is positive, but I think progress can't just be for visibility. It has to truly empower. And when I think that will trickle down sincerely, that's when we'll see the changes at the top.
Absolutely. I love it. No, I love it. And the reason I'm asking you is because I think that the way that things are going to change as well is when you have hip, fresh, new blood. And the way that you do broadcasting, the way that you present the game, I think it's dope. That's why I'm like, look, let's snag her for our side and do your thing on the NBA too. Of course, I think get you a girl that can do both. But speaking of that, you're doing Twitter Spaces and you're doing different things. And so tell me about what you're doing with Twitter. You know, Miss the WNBA is so important, is going to be there with you. So talk about that a little bit.
Okay, time out. I'm going to talk about that. But first, I want you to know our first opening weekend, Carolyn and I were sitting there, and Carolyn goes, I miss Renee. I was like, yeah. I was watching her on TNT. On Turner. I was like, you know, she was yelling like she always do. She's still yelling. I said, girl, yeah, you know. You better know it. We miss you. Yes. We do miss you in studio. Peck was like, her little pink heater. I miss that girl. Her little bag.
Man, listen. Miss Piggy died, by the way. It fell off of a desk.
Oh, no. I was going to say, it just
we're talking about my heater. I take a space heater every studio I go to because I need to be in my zone. But yeah, man, what you got going on?
Girl. So anyway, just got to, let you know that that's happening. Okay, so Twitter Spaces is actually really dope. The league reached out and was like, yo, we got this bigger deal with Twitter. We're going to do 25 spaces through the duration of the season, taking into September. Are you down to work alongside Ari Ivory? Are you kidding me? Like, that's a no-brainer. Literally, Ari and I met, God, that had to be 2015. She's patrolling the sidelines of the Washington Mystics games. I was working for the Round Ball Report, local TV at the time. So it's just been a really dope space. We had our first one Monday night. But we've got guests lined up. We had some conversations with fans toward the end, and fans were asking really intelligent and engaged questions. And
for real?
Kind of the slogan that came out of our first one was pick a city and pull up, because there was just so much curiosity.
Nice.
I love that.
Nice.
That is really dope. And so when I see you, I think like, okay, so you can do whatever you want to do. Like, you should know that. And so what is somebody that's already, you did the NBA All-Star game, boom, killed that. You did the WNBA draft, well, not like there, but you covered it. You did NCAA. I saw you covering that. So like, what does someone like you want to do? Like, what are things that it's like, I want it, it's on my goal list. Like, what does it look like for you?
All right, so don't laugh, y'all. The goal.
We don't laugh at dreams.
The dream goal in television is hosting some sort of game show.
Wait, no, we missed it. You got to say it again.
Say
you
it
went
again.
out. This is crazy.
Out. Yeah, it literally went out.
Okay, crazy comment.
Testing.
Yeah, we are here.
Testing.
We are here. Yes.
My big top circle in gold letters television goal is hosting a game show. Like Steve Harvey, slide over. Okay. Let me get some Family Feud.
You are literally my spirit animal. How do I feel about that, Serena?
Oh my gosh, she wants to do her own game show. Like, that's what she wants to do. Yeah,
me too. We got pull this off.
Okay, let's rewind to the fact that you thought we would laugh at something that's very appealable for you to do right now.
Okay.
I know, right? That's not funny at all. That seems very, very real.
People want to be like, oh, cover the Super Bowl, get this exclusive interview. No, I just want to bring people together. Let's play games. Let's laugh.
Bring
have a good time.
If you do it, if you do Family Feud, bring us
on.
I was just about to say, y'all need to be on Family Feud.
Listen, can I jump in here real quick?
Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
Monica, before I say what I have to say, I want to say, I always look and find out, what hairstyle does Monica have? I love your haircut. So let me just get that out there right away. But
always
anyway, what you mentioned just now just brought it to my attention because I've talked to Renee and I keep saying this. I think there's a lack of diversity and gender equity. And so what I'd like to know is, what do you think about that? And how do you think we can bring more diversity to things like commercials, TV shows, marketing?
Snook, you with a real deal question, Snook.
That's a great question.
Journalist question.
Forget
right
my
there.
manners, Monica. That's my Snook. That's my mom. Cole is my sister. Serena's my wife. Now say what up to the homie Monica.
I was going to say, I knew all of y'all, but not officially. But Serena, I have seen and hugged on her neck and loved on her.
Yeah, exactly. Last year or something.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Mama, may I call you Mama?
Yes, you certainly may.
I think that's a very powerful question. And I think for me, as I have observed different friends in industries as well as my industries, the decision makers have to look more like us for it to start to trickle down. Like Toyota makes me smirk because, God, this had to be, 2014? I was working in Florida, and I'll never forget, they had a commercial, and it was like 4 black homegirls, like for some little car. And I remember saying to my friends, like, I just want to be a voiceover artist on commercials. And then I turned around, and the girl in the backseat of the car had a short haircut like mine. And I was like, look, y'all, that's me. And it was like this hilarious moment. And so I think this is interesting too, because marketing also reflects regions. And I grew up in Prince George's County, just outside of DC, where Maryland. I saw black commercials and black professionals all the time. And so it was only when I moved away that I kind of realized how whitewashed things were elsewhere. But again, I think it takes a certain level of intention and deliberateness for your campaigns and your company to truly represent gender equity, inclusion, diversity in a real and empowering way, and not just a token way. And so that's going to come from decision makers that are about their business.
Facts. She gave you a real big girl answer too.
And I just want to say I'm ready for it whenever it happens. I hope it's in my lifetime.
It's coming. It's absolutely coming. It's coming.
Love it. Okay, so.
And when you say in a token way, what do you mean? What do you mean exactly?
I think it's easy for a company, a team, whatever hypothetical group of people you want to use. I think it's one thing to check a box and say we have all these people represented. It's another thing to empower them to feel like they can voice their opinions, their concerns, and perspective.
Like a diversity hire, as people call it, or something like that.
You know, that brings so many NFL questions, but we'll just slide on. We'll slide on past that and all
end racism in your end zone.
I like that.
Because slide past that and hope Magic gets on board and gets a team, and it just starts there. Because I'm going to say something.
Well, I was going to say, because talking about the token piece, it's almost like when I go to look for schools, and every picture is one African American, that they have probably that one or two in the entire school. They just said, hey, we need to put somebody black on this front page. We need to because that's the thing. It's just that they want people to see it up front. Now, it's nothing behind it. It's just that, we had to have some black people in there, so let me put this one up here to show. And I agree. It's like when you see that, they say, well, she's a female and she's an athlete, but it's like, okay, well, what about the equality of more than just having one particular person be the face for every single commercial, every single, it has to be spread amongst everyone so that everyone can feel included. And you're right. It has to come from the top, because that's the only recognizing that you're going to have is from the top. So.
Yeah, 100% Cole. I agree with you. I had a conversation with Valerie Jarrett a couple months ago for another podcast series that I'm working on. And at the time, y'all, I won't have to get into this deeply, but Renee, I know you were thinking, and Mama Snook, I know you were thinking, I could tell by that question. I said to Valerie, there is an element to diversity which acknowledges that we all will not agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if we talk about that side of the coin, right?
With that being okay, it's okay, though.
Right. And even still, and even despite the ways we disagree, find the thing that we do agree on, right?
Yes.
So anyway, it's a whole nother thing.
No, yes. I mean, that's...
And
if you know, you know. That's what you have to. You have to finish that with. If you know, you know.
Right.
Exactly. But to some people, what could be considered diverse is not exactly diverse to another group of people. Like some people might say, "Oh yes, look, we have a diverse, executive team or something." And I mean, not for nothing. Let's say, for example, that could be all white women, and to them, because women are considered a minority, that is diversity. But to another group of women, that might not be the diversity that we're looking.
Exactly.
And so there's so many ways to go into that. So yeah, you're right. We're going to just throw that pass for another day.
Table that.
Yeah, let's sit that on the table.
We'll be here all day.
Make it go. We'll leave it under that foul. And then the last thing I wanted to just ask you. Well, actually, there's two things, but with the type of job you have, I always like to ask busy people, like, what does your work personal life balance? How do you do that? Like, I asked Elle Duncan the same thing. Like, how are you doing that? Because like, for instance, Serena and I love you, baby. We haven't even been on a honeymoon yet. We're two years.
Y'all crazy.
We're 2 years.
Shame on y'all.
Shame on us. I saw that you like to get away for a week at a time. I've seen you tweet about it. So like, what does that self-care look like? Like, what do you do to balance out?
Who I need to talk to more, Renee or Serena, on getting y'all on honeymoon? Like, who do I need to zone in on?
Renee.
Okay,
Renee.
Renee, my sis. Renee, my sis.
It's both of us. We both love to
I
work,
think,
though.
if I'm honest, I got laid off twice in the span of 3 years, and so I was completely without and uncertain whether it would return in a way that I could call making my living and not just a hobby. And so during that time, I still teach cycle classes for a hobby thing now, but then it was part of my job. Like I was substitute teaching.
Nice.
I was doing all of these things that I do not have time to do when I'm busy now, right? And so that season of my life really showed me the train is going to keep moving with or without me. And so I have to prioritize myself. So there is never a perfect time. In fact, I had to tell our good boss, Sarah Gallardo, that I'm going to be on an island during part of the WNBA playoffs. And while I was like, ooh, I also was like, well, this is when Bay is available, so this is when we going, and personal life, period. Right?
That's what's up, though.
Yeah, so for me, it is I gotta, because I can't, the saying is you can't pour from an empty well. And I think because all the things that we do are so highly visible, the minute that you ain't right, it's all over the internet and you're not going to be able to live it down. So you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to take care of yourself because the asks will never stop.
Man,
That's true.
you know what I'm saying? Let me just, I'm going to take a little note, take all them nuggets. you dropped some gems when you said you was going to have to miss a chunk of that. And that's when bait is available and a bloop. And that's that. So, woo, Monica. No, but there was a word there for me, like even as I started to do Montgomery and Company podcast, and I knew that we already we started remotely Renee, then got into Take Line, and then Montgomery and Company got picked up by the Lebertard and Friends Network, and I knew we wanted to blow this up. And it was like you have to start, once you get to a certain level of busy, you have to really start prioritizing, all right, what things are in your career path,
because you can't stretch yourself too thin.
Because like you said, you want to do everything. You don't really got the time to do it. So I'm going to take that nugget. And the last thing that I'm going to ask you, because as you can see here, everything we do is building up family. We have a family business, everything. And so it's a generational thing here. And I'm just curious, what does generational wealth mean to someone like you, especially now after you said, you've been to both sides of the coin where you don't know what's going to happen. And then now where I hope that things are going well enough for you that you're comfortable.
Generational wealth is a great question. I think in my family, that discussion is around owning property. I actually, coming up on a year in July, I purchased my grandmother's home. It got sold to somebody else in between because, she ain't had a vision, but I love you, God rest your soul. Anyway, I got it back. And I think...
Congrats.
Thank you. I think property is a great way to start building that and then having the vision. Like the house is in DC. If I sold it tomorrow, I've already made money, but that's not where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? So I think doing it in ways that support you. And then my mom's mom, girl, she used to run these things called susus, which is, she took it from, I don't know if y'all familiar, but she took it from.
I think Snook must know what's going on here.
She took it from a lot of the island women that she worked with at Howard University Hospital. And basically it was sort of a payday club. Everybody put in a piece of money and everybody got their turn to get a payout. And basically that would allow people to come up with large sums of money to do things like buy property or invest. And
we lost you for a second, Monica.
Am I back? Y'all got me? Oh no. I see me.
We lost you for a second.
Yeah, we lost you. I don't know if that was my connection.
No, that was everybody.
Everybody's, but
I heard it was a pay club.
Susu.
Okay, yeah.
So
it
we
went out for
started
about 30
Susus,
seconds.
Okay.
Payday, yes.
It was a payday, and I'm really curious about it. So run it back real quick, please.
Okay, cool. All right, 3, 2, 1. So my mom's mom, she ran these things called susus, which were payday clubs. So basically, every time you got paid, you put $10 in the bucket, and there were 10 people in it. So every month, one of the people got the entire lump sum, right? And of course, she did bigger numbers, but it allowed people to have large sums of cash on hand to do things to avoid accruing debt per the American standard way. And so my grandmother has always been one who's like, it's not how much you make, it is what you do with it.
Yes.
And so for me, as much as generational wealth is attached to the actual objects or the number in the bank account, it is also the mindset and how you think about money and things.
Love that.
I love it.
What is the name of that club again?
And you know, that warms
Susu.
my heart to hear
Susus.
that.
I've heard of. They're big. Yes.
That warms my heart to hear that, because and I'm from the Dominican Republic, and so we call it sociedad in Spanish. I didn't even know that another term for it, or English term for it, but susu, sociedad, almost sounds a little bit similar. I'm like, oh my God, that warms my heart to hear that. Like, just how the
we need to start a
susu
club
like
for people like me, you, Monica, that we got a little bit of change, but not a, like, you know what I'm saying? We got a little bit to throw to the side, and then we just go start buying percentages of things and buying into. So we might need to start to do that. There's different, you know what I'm saying? There's levels. I'm sure that's basically what people are doing, but I can't let you go without asking you about WNBA this season. What are your thoughts, man? Like, who's the Power Five in your mind of the? Because I don't like asking the top one team. There's just too many good teams. So who's the top like teams? I'm just going to leave it open that you think is like, what's going on, man? Like, or who actually? And then I also want to know who's the teams of those top teams that you think really not going to make the distance, though. Because there's like,
and we know it's a little early.
It is
early. So this is
early, but I've seen enough games. I've been watching all the games, so it's early.
And Monica, on the backside of that, who do you think is going to be better than projected?
Oh,
okay, Mama Snook. Now listen, I was going to butter Renee up, but sincerely to your question, I do think y'all might be up to something in Atlanta. I was so thrilled to see the hire of Tanisha Wright and the way that Ryan Howard started her season as a rook in the league. I'm like, okay, what y'all got cooking over there?
We're going to keep it quiet until other people see it. Something's happening. But go ahead.
I just want to, you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying. Okay, so top teams, I think Vegas looked great opening weekend. I am curious to see what this new look, completely renovated Sparks squad looks like.
Yeah.
I think Chicago obviously returns their core, so you got to see if they can get through a season healthy. What does that look like? And then for me, DC, like
that's what I was going to ask you
that's
about.
my hometown squad. I like what they're trying to do with Elena Deladon in terms of the load management piece with her back, but I think Alicia Clark also returning someone with plenty of championship experience is a sneaky piece. And then I don't think you can sleep on Seattle. Like, I think there's a little bit more urgency maybe around Sue, and she obviously has the complement of weapons that can get it done.
So what are we thinking about when it comes to Connecticut? You know, like a lot of people are saying this got to be their year, considering like, you know, like they've been a favorite for a couple years and not necessarily win it all, but one of the top teams. So like, are they going to get that push and get to, I don't know, is it championship or bust? Like, because they pretty much make it far a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Jonquil herself, opening weekend, basically said it's championship or bust in so many words, in terms of them being really disappointed last year. It was weird because I had a chance to call some of their broadcasts last year, and I think she would be willing to cop to this. I don't know what happened to her in the playoffs. I think as great as Alyssa Thomas is, the chemistry was a little wonky, adding her in late. I just think the league is no joke,
Right.
Renee. Like, and I don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes,
reigning MVP. Like, yes, a squad. You return Courtney Williams. Like, DeWanna Bonner's coming back. Like, yes, sure, on paper. But it's sometimes you got to get a little lucky, man.
Thank
That's
you.
true.
I mean,
The stars have to be aligned.
Facts. You have to stay healthy, first of all. There's so many factors, but I'm just glad you said that. I'm going to let you go on that because I think that people don't realize that, you know, we've been saying it a lot. I know that people have been preaching it, but 144 is a very, very small number. And so if you're looking at the amount of players coming out of college every year, the amount of players staying in the league every year, 144 just doesn't seem big enough anymore to me. And so it's like, I'm glad that you just put like every team is about to be stacked at this point because it's only going to be a bunch of All-Americans, All-Stars available until we kind of expand this thing. So do you think like if you had to pick two cities, I'm sorry to do this, I don't like picking them either. Where are you going for the expansion? Two cities.
Okay. As the little girl that fell in love with the WNBA, it breaks my heart that there's nothing in Houston anymore.
Houston Comets. I've been saying, hey, did you see Mike Evans?
Yeah, somebody
NFL
just
player
said that.
Mike
Yeah.
Evans just tweeted that he would be interested in buying it back into Houston. So that's just a side note there.
Oh, okay. Good to know. So Houston because of my heartstrings. And then I'm torn whether I would want to see the league continue to expand out west or make this East Coast run super popping. Because I feel like if you throw a team in Charlotte, like it's a good spot where, you know what I'm saying, like you can travel from Atlanta, maybe travel from DC, like it's a fan base there. But I also feel like, and I have heard that Bay Area, Sacramento crew,
it's going
like
there.
I mean
the
Monarchs back in the day.
It's going there. So, like the Bay Area is already prepping the area. They're talking to people. They're getting the city ready. I feel like the Bay Area, something's already brewing over there. But I agree. I think bringing the Houston Comets.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want the East Coast.
And I don't know if you even call them the Comets,
Charlotte
but if you bring a Houston team back, Charlotte would be lit too. Yeah. But if you bring these teams to these areas, of course, us East Coasters are going to love it. But you know the Bay is going to get one of those.
One of them.
Absolutely. This was so fun, y'all. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Yes, Monica. Thank you. You are obviously
you always bringing the energy.
So you're welcome back anytime.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us on MoCo.
Yes, thank you. And so nice to meet you.
I was about to say the same thing, Mama Snook and Cole. It was I've heard so many good things about y'all, so it was good to meet y'all.
Meet you too. We heard she was lit. They was like, good energy. Monica's coming. She's lit.
Y'all energy is
came up like she's lit.